It's time for Chewing on the Wire Radio.
No, God! No,
Hey,
God,
no
please,
biting.
no!
Hey, no
No!
biting. Okay? You want me to bite you? You know that hurts, Daddy. I told you, silly. No biting, okay?
Power plays and breakaways. There is choice for 30 days. Stick 'em up, power plays. Ain't no messing in our way. We're not here with the day. Masasaki on the way. We're not here.
And welcome to another episode of Chewing on the Wire Radio. We have another bonus episode today. Because why not? You know what I mean? Getting antsy between the live shows, between the book tour shows. So today we're going to talk about some good stuff. Tomorrow I am going to Cedar Point for the first time in what feels like forever. For the first time since the media day for Top Thrill 2 events, at least. I haven't been spending a heck of a lot of time at Cedar Point because when you work somewhere, even if it is an when you work somewhere, even if it is an amusement park, when you work somewhere for almost a decade, you kind of get tired of it. Not that I'm necessarily tired of Cedar Point every time I go there. It's like new stuff to look at, still enjoy the rides. There's still a couple of rides like Steel Vengeance that I haven't gotten to ride a whole lot because the lines are crazy. And then usually those like Tuesdays or Wednesdays that I don't work, I'm not able to. Or no, I said that backwards. Those Tuesdays or Wednesdays when no one is at the park, I usually choose to work during the week so I can have my weekends off, etc., etc. So, yeah, I always enjoy going, but it's one of those, just like the thought of like driving all the way out there again, like on a day off because I also work there is like, and then spending all your time at the place you already spent all your time at, it's been a mess. But now that I'm cutting back on the hours, switching positions, and soon to be kind of leaving, park employment, I guess you'd say, I'm trying to kind of convert to just be a full-time shareholder, be a part of that realm of possibilities, explore the park from that realm. Realm's the only word I can think of right now. But I'm going back tomorrow with the fam, bringing the fam there, going to see what's going on. Speaking of which, Top Thrill 2 is still not open, and that's, of course, what we're really going to talk about today. To hop right into it, because I don't really have a whole lot of setup with this. Actually, you know what? Let's set up one thing first. Speaking of family affairs, things we're doing with the fam, next week, after the Primus concert, which is next Monday, which is one of our book tour stops, which we'll have one of these live shows for. The Wednesday after, because that concert's on a Monday, the Wednesday after, we're heading up to Toronto for our first international trip. Never been out of the country. Finally got the passports, etc., etc. And I think in my free time, I think in that downtime up there, you know how it is. I don't know why I said that. What do you mean, you know how it is? I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, in my free time, in my downtime, I'm thinking the 8th of August, either early in the morning, late at night. Not quite sure what the schedule is yet. We're going to go live on here again, do another bonus episode or something from Canada. Our first international episode, our first international show. Of course, getting us prepared for this upcoming November when we're there for, again, I think 2 nights for the book tour as it stands now. Anyway, to get back into this episode, because I think that's all the announcements we have today, to get back into this episode. So you hear a lot of me complaining when it comes to amusement parks on the internet, specifically about Steel Curtain at Kennywood, which we will get a lot more into And I have a date for you this time. I know a lot of times I'm like, whenever we have Scotty on the Hunt back on the show, we'll get into amusement park stuff. It just hasn't been happening for a million different reasons, but we have a date now, August 31st. We're on the road with him. He's coming on tour with us. So we're gonna force him to be on one of these episodes, basically. You know how it is. But no, anyway, I talk about Steel Curtain a whole heck of a lot because it just, I don't know that it ever opens. And I say that Scott goes to Kennywood more than I do, like 2 or 3 times a year sometimes. I'm like once a year, maybe. I think there's been a year or two I haven't gone. But I've never been able to ride it. From the year it opened, then all of a sudden they were like, actually we can't finish building it. You know, they missed that top track piece like after the lift hill going into the rest of it type of thing. It was like misproduced or something like that. To a year or so later, it was just like I get a message from Scott or whatever when we were going for, I think this was the 21 Pilots concert, and we went to Kennywood before the concert. I think that's this time. It was just like, it hasn't been open in 2 weeks. I don't know. It wasn't open that day either. Then I went with one of my exes, I believe, and the same thing. I look at the ride listing, and it's like starting that Monday, Steel Vengeance isn't open, and we were going on like Wednesday and Thursday or something. So it's just like that ride's been around for how many years, and I'm someone who covers amusement parks in multiple different facets, and I haven't been able to get on it. Like how, like what's wrong with? I don't know if it's the ride, or it'd have to be the ride. I guess you can't really say something's wrong with the park because the ride won't operate. But it's just like annoying. And then the same thing with like Black Widow. Never been on that. I've seen it run twice in the past 5 times I've been there or something like that. And I'm constantly talking about it's like Kennywood. I feel like is the park that I'm constantly at, and then nothing's running. And then I get a little backlash here and there from the people that think they know what they're talking about, and they're like, says the dude whose home park is Cedar Point, and they've had their brand new ride closed since the 4th day of the season or whatever. And I just think that's completely different. The reason I think it's completely different, kind of quickly, because this wasn't really all I wanted to talk about. I didn't want to make this episode long as hell because it's a bonus episode, but is like Top Thrill 2 when it was up, and I guess you don't have a whole lot to compare it to because it was only up for 4 days, but it was like, if you're hearing noises hitting the mic, Max, the cat, if you can hear that, he's on the desk now, running into the mic and rubbing his tail on it, etc., etc. Anyway, you can't really compare it because it was one of those things like when Top Thrill 2 was running, the 2 days that I was able to see it, I sat there for like over 6 hours and just watched the ride. And it was like, I just think there's no comparable facets because it was like, when it broke down, max, it was 30 minutes. And then usually it was like 8 to 10 type of situation. And it was some, you expect new rides to kind of be down a little bit, so on and so forth. But then it was like Steel Curtain is down for seasons at a time. And it's clearly not for the same like reasons. And to kind of keep talking about this but also go into another subject because I think it just blends into another subject, I really don't think there's anything wrong with Top Thrill 2, or I say that like I think it's a great upgrade for the park, and I think it's what the park needed. Obviously right now we're going through a patch where there's something wrong with the trains, but to go off what I said and what I'm thinking right now, different topic type of thing, it's clearly an upgrade and is going to be better for the park and functioning better and more, or I should just say less downtime. I don't know if more uptime is the correct verbiage for that. But, and I say you can just tell that because right now basically the trains aren't taking to the track, which sucks, and it's awkward because it's been down for so long. But it's one of those in the 4 days it was open to the public, and then the couple of weeks, almost a month that it was open for preview events and testing and stuff, watching it, it's only downtime it ever experienced, like I said, like happened every couple of hours for 10 to 15 minutes one time that I watched it in an entire week, it was 30 minutes. Now think of just how Dragster was at all. It was like averaging an hour. Sometimes it could be all day, sometimes it could be 3 to 4 hours. So it's like it's already, you can just tell it's going to be an upgrade. The thing obviously it's lacking is we just got to get trains that'll take. Because right now, obviously, something's shaking, something's cracking, something's slowing it down. And that's another kind of conspiracy theory we got to talk about when Scott's up here. No, I do not think the park is slowing down the trains. I was seeing a whole lot of, I knew something was wrong with the trains because they were being slowed down. It wasn't launching as fast towards the end. The last couple days it was open, it was 40-mile-an-hour winds blowing, like it was launching in to the wind. The wind wasn't going with it, and it was only like launching at like 118 instead of 120 to like 124 type of thing. So that's just dumb. If you think that, I'm sorry to say that, but that's just dumb. Don't think that. Because again, that's just dumb. Don't be dumb. It's our motto on the show. Actually, the motto, as coined by my mother, is "Don't be a dumbass," which is borderline the same thing. But anyway, yeah, I just think it's two different things because whatever was going on, and I can't get a clear answer. Again, I'm gonna keep saying it. Why we gotta have this conversation with Scott? It's because he's even more of a park insider than I was. You know, I'm huge on the haunt events. That's the little industry I've been in as far as amusement parks go. I had 1 year, 1 year, and then here and there spotty all over the place as a ride op, but I'm in with a bunch of different parks, like when it comes to haunts and stuff. So that's my thing. Scott's was he was a haunt actor too. Got to say that, but he's big as a ride op. Scotty Hunt the ride op is the name on his birth certificate actually, but yeah, I just think it's not a comparable thing because when Top Thrill 2 was running, it was only down for 8 to 15 minutes max. One time I saw it was half an hour. Steel Curtain was like the one time I saw it was up. It was then down for 4 hours, and then this is the second season in a row that it just hasn't opened. Or not in a row, but the second season. Um, I've been to the park that it just hasn't opened, and I've only been going to the park, covering that park kind of for like 4 seasons. So 2 out of the 4 so far, it has not opened. So half the time, half of the seasons we have been there, if my math is correct, of what the year it opened, if that math is correct. Half of the years that we have been there slash it has been open, and I mean years, not months, not visits, years we've been there. It just hasn't opened that season. I think that's comparably different to a ride that is functioning quite well. Something happened with the trains. And I say functioning quite well because things like Wicked Twister started deteriorating to the point where there was a little, what I call the Windseeker on top of the rides. Dragster has one. Wicked Twister had one. I know there's the ride called Windseeker, which also has a Windseeker, but it's not the ride. It's this little tether that like measures how fast the wind is, and if it's over a certain miles per hour, etc., it'll like stop the ride from going, type of thing. You know, send an error code, however it may be, however it may look on the computers. I've heard towards the end, the Wicked Twister one started just sending whatever message anytime there was wind. Not the normal, like, if it's over 24 miles an hour or something, I don't remember what the number is, I'm just making something up. But not the normal, if it's over 24 miles an hour, you know, it won't launch, you know, error codes, etc., etc. It was like if there was wind, the ride was like, I don't know what to do. Like Top Thrill 2, in, I'll say, month and 4 days, that it was just operating, even if it wasn't to the public, even if it was only to the media and creators, etc., wasn't having any of that. Even when there was 40-mile-an-hour headwinds, it was still launching at 118 miles an hour with the blowback. Now, if you remember Top Thrill, with just the way it was, no wind included, etc., was starting to lack and only hit 115 in general. This thing's not going as fast as it normally would because of winds and still getting it up to 118. 119. The commercialized, the marketed 120 on a bad launch. So that's what I'm saying. I think this ride is working out well and will work out well and have a lot more uptime right now. It's a dumb way to think, I know, but like I don't even consider this as like downtime, even though that's what it is. Because what the heck else would you call it? The ride's not having a problem. They can't find trains that can consistently launch at this speed and not go haywire. Because, like I said, if you remember the old ride, it wasn't ever launching at the same speed. You know what I mean? So I think they finally figured out how to get the pieces of the ride that used to not work or be unreliable to be reliable and to work. But the trains, they don't train the way they used to, type of thing. You know what I mean? And so again, I feel like in my mind, I'm not going to file this under downtime. I'm filing it under they had to get a crappy company out and a good company in type of situation. The good company has to kind of figure out the situation and like make its own, put its trains on their track type of deal, and their trains just aren't used to it. And probably not used to the speed either, but it's just one of those situations. So I think that's enough jibber jabber from me. That's just my 2 cents. And I know at the time we were providing video and photo and little updates on our website, etc., and we just haven't heard anything because, quite honestly, the trains just aren't taken. From what I hear, they're testing it, and what I'm seeing is just the classic. It's shake, rattling, and rolling. It's going over the top, but then it's like you get some kind of error message or something like that, from what I'm understanding from the ride ops and etc. Everyone involved that has any comment, their comments are like it just goes up there, then comes down, and something makes some weird noise or something. It's just the trains just aren't. There's been no downtime with the actual ride system, from what I understand. But anyway, I think that's enough from me. Thank you very much for listening. We're done.